4 centuries of transformation, a story of liberty and struggle. This is America. In 1603, the death of Elizabeth I opened a new chapter for English ambition across the sea. 1607, Jamestown, the first permanent English settlement, a fragile foothold in a vast new world. Disease and hunger nearly broke the colony during the starving time of 1609. John Rolfe's introduction of tobacco in 1612 provided the economic lifeline the colony needed. 1619 saw the first representative assembly in America, the House of Burgesses. That same year, the first enslaved Africans arrived, a legacy that would haunt the nation. In 1620, the Pilgrims sought religious freedom, landing at Plymouth Rock. They signed the Mayflower Compact, an early foundation for self-governance. By 1630, Puritans arrived in Massachusetts, envisioning a city upon a hill as a moral guide. Across New England, small towns and religious fervor shaped a new society. The middle colonies became the breadbasket, known for grain and ethnic diversity. In the South, large-scale plantations grew, increasingly reliant on enslaved labor. By the mid-1700s, 13 distinct colonies flourished along the Atlantic coast. The Enlightenment brought new ideas about liberty and reason to the colonial mind. The French and Indian War of 1754 redrew the map of North America. Victory came at a price. Britain began to tax the colonies to pay for the war. The Stamp Act of 1765 sparked the cry, "No taxation without representation." Blood was spilled in 1770 during the Boston Massacre, fueling the fire of rebellion. In 1773, the Sons of Liberty dumped tea into the harbor in a bold act of defiance. The shot heard around the world at Lexington and Concord in 1775 began the war. Thomas Paine's common sense argued that it was time for a total break from Britain. On July 4, 1776, the colonies declared their independence to the world. The Continental Army endured a brutal winter at Valley Forge, testing their resolve. Victory at Saratoga in 1777 convinced France to join the American cause. With French help, Washington secured the final British surrender at Yorktown in 1781. The first government, the Articles of Confederation, proved too weak to lead the nation. In 1787, delegates met in Philadelphia to draft a new, stronger constitution. They created a republic with 3 branches designed to balance power. George Washington was inaugurated as the first president in 1789. The Bill of Rights was added in 1791 to protect individual freedoms. Alexander Hamilton laid the foundations for the nation's financial system. The Whiskey Rebellion tested the new federal government's authority. In 1803, Jefferson doubled the size of the nation with the Louisiana Purchase. Lewis and Clark explored the new territory, reaching the Pacific Ocean. The War of 1812 solidified American independence once and for all. A period of national unity followed, known as the Era of Good Feelings. The Monroe Doctrine warned European powers to stay out of the Americas. The 1820s saw the rise of Jacksonian democracy and the common man. This era also saw the tragic forced removal of Native Americans on the Trail of Tears. The first industrial revolution began to transform the American economy. The spirit of manifest destiny drove settlers further and further west. In 1849, the discovery of gold in California sparked a global migration. The annexation of Texas led to conflict with Mexico. Victory in the Mexican-American War added vast territories in the Southwest. New territories reignited the fierce debate over the expansion of slavery. Abolitionists like Frederick Douglass fought tirelessly to end the institution of slavery. Harriet Tubman led hundreds to freedom via the Underground Railroad. The 1857 Dred Scott decision ruled that black people could never be citizens. The election of Abraham Lincoln was the final spark for secession. The bombardment of Fort Sumter in 1861 marked the start of the Civil War. It was the deadliest war in American history, pitting family against family. Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation turned the war into a crusade for freedom. The Battle of Gettysburg was the turning point of the conflict. The 13th Amendment finally abolished slavery across the entire nation. Just after victory, Lincoln was assassinated, leaving a mourning nation. Reconstruction attempted to rebuild the South and integrate formerly enslaved people. But the end of Reconstruction led to the rise of Jim Crow and segregation. The Transcontinental Railroad unified the nation from coast to coast. The Gilded Age saw massive industrial growth and extreme wealth gaps. Industrialists like Carnegie and Rockefeller built vast business empires. Cities exploded in size as immigrants arrived seeking the American dream. The Spanish-American War signaled America's emergence as a global power. The Panama Canal connected the oceans, transforming global trade. The Progressive Era brought needed reforms to labor, health, and government. In 1903, the Wright brothers conquered the skies, changing human travel forever. In 1917, the US entered World War I, tipping the scales for the Allies. Henry Ford's assembly line revolutionized industry, making the automobile accessible to all. American troops faced the horrors of trench warfare in the fields of France. In 1920, the 19th Amendment finally guaranteed women the right to vote. The Roaring Twenties brought a decade of cultural and economic boom. But in 1929, the stock market crash triggered the Great Depression. Franklin Roosevelt's New Deal offered hope through massive public works. The 1941 attack on Pearl Harbor pulled America into World War II. The home front mobilized, with millions of women joining the workforce. D-Day marked the beginning of the liberation of Western Europe. Victory in 1945 left America as the world's leading nuclear superpower. The end of the Second World War saw a nation unified in triumph and ready for a new era. A new struggle began, the Cold War, an ideological battle against the USSR. The 1950s brought suburban growth and a new era of consumer prosperity. The Korean War tested the nation's policy of containing communism. The civil rights movement demanded an end to legal segregation. Brave individuals like Rosa Parks challenged the status quo of injustice. The space race pushed the limits of human achievement. NASA's early technology laid the groundwork for our journey to the moon and beyond. In 1969, the world watched as Americans first walked on the moon. But the Vietnam War became a deeply divisive conflict at home. The counterculture movement of the 60s challenged traditional values. The Watergate scandal led to the first resignation of a US president. The 1980s brought the Reagan Revolution and a renewed national pride. The fall of the Berlin Wall signaled the beginning of the end for the USSR. The fall of the Berlin Wall marked a victory for freedom and the end of a divided world. The digital revolution began to reshape every aspect of daily life. The 1990s saw the birth of the Internet and a new era of global connectivity. The birth of the Internet connected humanity in ways previously unimagined. The attacks of September 11th redefined the 21st century. A new era of global challenges began with the War on Terror. The election of Barack Obama in 2008 was a historic milestone. Silicon Valley became the engine of the modern global economy. Rapid change continues to define American life in the new millennium. In 2026, we celebrate 250 years of the Great American Experiment. Today, we look toward the stars with renewed ambition and wonder. Our exploration of Mars continues to expand the horizons of human knowledge. The story of America is still being written by every one of us. Today, the AI revolution is reshaping our world and our future once again. 4 centuries, one nation, the journey continues.